What's going on there, truckers? Today we're going to talk a little bit about working them load boards. So let's get to it. The home of the do-it-yourself trucker. When everything goes wrong, you got a Redneckanize. How's everybody doing out there today? And thanks for watching. I want to talk to you about a post that was on Facebook last week from our good friends over at rightload.com. Now, Rightload's always been a real big fan of Redneckanize, and we appreciate always being there for them when we can. Now, before I do that, I want to take the time to thank our sponsor this week, and that's DPF Regeneration. Now, those folks at DPF Regeneration, a family-owned business that has been doing what they can to help the drivers out there working those particulate filters and those exhaust systems of the modern day truck. Now, we all know that those can be complicated sometimes, so it's always good to have a big network of support from this great company. You know, they've always been there for us. It's been a few years now that they've stepped up and helped us out, and they appreciate what Redneckanize has done and continues to do. So what we say is that we should support the businesses that support trucking. So check them out at webake'em.com. And give them a holler and let them know you appreciate what they're doing for us here at Redneckanize. So last week, good friends over at rightload.com posted a Facebook post about how they had a flatbed carrier start posting a new shipper that they had posting freight for them on the load board. Now, what they said is that they noticed that the rates on that postings, like they were nowhere near the market value of the freight, and it was unacceptable and no way close of the intentions of how they run the company over at Rightload. Now, what they told them is they needed to increase their rates by 35% minimum. Now, this goes to show you that, hey, we got people stepping up trying to help us out with the low rates out there. And what I noticed is that this is not really a broker doing this. This is an actual shipper that's lowballing the freight. And I just couldn't help but notice that, you know, maybe it's not exactly the brokers doing it, but it's pretty much everybody down the line. And what they do is they try to take advantage of the drivers that don't know. They don't know their numbers. They don't know the market rate in those particular areas. So they take advantage of that. Now, I don't think it's right. But again, what I want to do is I want to help those drivers that don't know, and I want to help them to know. Now, we can all agree that knowing your numbers is kind of the best way to do things. You're not going to be able to highball the freight. Now, that brings me to the next point in this post, which was that a carrier had actually fallen off a load, and they came back the next day and said, no, the carrier didn't fall off the load. The carrier actually high bid the freight, and that it was not acceptable, being a little crazy, that it was a little more higher than the market rate would entail. But the shipper was pretty much being fair. It was a good rate. It's just that the carrier, you know, was trying to get a little more out of it. Now, a lot of times we need to kind of be able to work with these shippers and try to see, hey, you know, yeah, it's a pretty good rate. Maybe can you throw a little bit more my way? You know, highballing yourself out of it, you know, is a good way to probably not get it. But anyway, what really told me about these posts is that Rightload is really sticking up for the drivers, sticking up for the carriers, but also they know that the shippers are requiring a good carrier, a truck, to haul that freight right. So what they did is they actually said on here to the carrier, to the flatbed shipper, is that they said that Rightload is building an organization of incredibly qualified and dependable carriers, and that better service is not being offered on our platform at the bottom of the pay scale. Which means that, yeah, the shippers need to be paying a good rate on the load boards because the carriers are top notch. Rightload not only polices the shippers to make sure they're paying well and got good freight, but they're also policing the carriers, making sure that they're sticking up and taking the freight, you know, not falling off the loads, delivering on time, stuff like that. And that's kind of my whole point of this video, was to make sure that everybody understood that, you know, it's a two-way street. If we want good rates, then we got to provide really good service. Now, that's always in the eye of the beholder. It's subjective, good service. You may think you're giving good service, but the shipper may not think you're giving good service. So, it's all about what they perceive. And, we do it all the time. We go to a truck stop and want a good meal. Well, they think they're giving you a good meal, but you don't think you're getting a good meal. So you either, don't leave a good tip, or you might complain, send it back, or you won't go there anymore. It's the same thing. We always want to make sure that we're being a good provider of the service to them, and we want to make sure that they're paying good to us, and we want to always provide that. So I would appreciate that Right Load has done what they did to make sure that the shippers out there are putting up good rates on the load board, and I appreciate it that drivers are accepting those rates on that load board and providing good service, and I think that that's always a good thing. So anytime you guys want to, feel free, let me know. What do you think? We see it all out there. Cheap freight, it's going on a lot these days, especially with the shutdown and quarantine and all that. But I think that when it gets busy, rates go up. Whenever it happens, it's a volatile market out there. So we got to take advantage of it when we can. We got to get while the getting's good, all that kind of good stuff. So check us out at redneckanize.com, and let us know what you think. Give us a holler, and we'll see you out there on the road.